Anyone in here? Whoa! Let's get to it. Yeah, so Michael Moore and Where's Waldo invited me to make another one of those videos, but they're not here. I think I might just stick around though. It is a lot nicer here than under the freeway. This must be one of those flashbacks they warned me about in the 70s.
I was trapped in a different dimension with Rodney for 6 years. Yeah, it's only a few days here, but time works differently over there. So like a few days is 6 years. Being in a different dimension with just Rodney and one Nintendo Switch? Hell is the circus compared to that.
I don't know what his problem is. We were there for like an hour, tops.
Now that we're back in this reality, we thought it would be fun to share some true alternate dimension stories. Now I say true in quotations because there's really no way to verify them. Some of them were printed in sketchy news publications, but that being said, the possibility that they could be true is intriguing enough for me.
Yeah, I like to think that someday I'll find a dimension where I have friends who actually appreciate my ideas.
Yeah, that place doesn't exist.
Fat chance, Waldo.
Loser. Why don't you go sit in the corner? In 1972, 4 women from Southern Utah University were heading home from a rodeo in Nevada. As a shortcut, they decided to drive through Gadianton Canyon. Things became strange pretty quickly. The desert they were driving through suddenly became a forest with grass and pine trees. The concrete they were driving on turned from black to white. They started to panic as they didn't remember any of this from the ride up. They decided to stop and take a better look at their map. This is where sources disagree. Some of them say that the women went to a rest stop, and some say they ended up at a gas station that appeared to have a sign in a different language. What everyone does agree on, however, is that 4 strange egg-looking vehicles started driving toward them. Never having seen anything like these craft, the women got back in their car and hightailed it out of there. The egg cars began chasing them rather aggressively and caused the woman driving to swerve off the road and crash. Suddenly, they were back in the desert with no sign of their pursuers. Later, the police were called and they noticed that the skid marks on the sand abruptly ended, making it appear that the car had been dropped out of thin air.
This next story, totally true. I know because I was there.
No, he wasn't.
In the 1940s, the US was allegedly toying with interdimensional travel and invisibility cloaking for ships. In an incident famously known as the Philadelphia experiment, a group of scientists decided to test these theories on a large ship called the USS Eldridge. Witnesses on the shore claimed to have seen the ship completely disappear. When it reappeared, it was miles away, and while the ship itself appeared to be just fine, the crew members were not. Several of them were dead, with horrified looks on their faces, while others were fused to the ship. The only survivors either appeared to have gone insane or had no memory of the event.
I think the only insane people are the ones who believe that story.
Well, fellas, I gotta go recycle some Tootsie Rolls. If you know what I mean.
Don't look at me.
This story is regarded as one of the most well-documented cases of interdimensional travel, but it's difficult to find any sources that predate the internet era. That being said, it's enough to make one's skin crawl, true or not. In 1954, a businessman arrived at Japan's Haneda Airport. Aside from having a copious amount of cocaine, Customs noticed his passport looked a little strange, but everything else seemed legit. That is, until they saw what country it was from. The passport said the man was from a country called Taured. Any yachts can look at a globe and see that Taured doesn't exist. The man became increasingly annoyed and insisted that Taured was a real country. Customs asked him to point his country out on a map, and he indicated that it was situated between France and Spain. In reality, this is the location of the Principality of Andorra. In order to ensure that this strange man was not a trafficker of some sort, Customs asked him to stay in a guarded hotel overnight while they cleared him. He reluctantly agreed. The next morning, the man was nowhere to be found, as if he had evaporated into thin air. And you know, perhaps he did.
Well, what a bunch of interesting stories.
Help! Somebody help!
What was that?
Shut your mouth, Rodney.
Guys, I think there's something wrong with the toilet.
Ah!